You know, sometimes this life can get rough. You get knocked down, but you gotta get up. Keep going.
Welcome to the APL Sports Show. I'm your host, Coach D. And today, the guest I have coming in for a conversation, man, is a football legend. He's one of the most insightful minds that we're going to have on the show. We're on to have NFL quarterback and Heisman Trophy winner, the 2003 number one overall draft pick, three-time Pro Bowler. He has 11,818 passing yards at the University of Southern California, 72 passing touchdowns, 46,247 NFL passing yards, with 294 passing TDs. He's a father, he's a brother, he's a great football mind, and somebody that I've considered to grow into a good friend of mine, the one and only Carson Palmer.
Thanks, Coach.
Man, Coach, I'm sorry, Carson. I'm a little starstruck right now, man. This is a big moment.
I appreciate
for me,
it.
man.
I haven't heard those stats in a long time, since I retired in 2017. So,
Wow.
As you mentioned, I'm a dad, so I don't think much about the glory days, the football stuff. I'm now more focused on my kids' sporting events and getting excited about their stat lines. Mm-hmm. But I appreciate the intro.
Yeah, man, I hope I did you justice by reading everything off, and if I missed anything,
no, you hit them all. You didn't mention any losses or interceptions, so that's good.
Nope, didn't want to do that, man. Not that type of podcast, man. And before we even get started, I just really want to say thank you for your time. You, like I said, I know you're a father, you're busy, with your kids, just like I am. For you to take time to sit down with me and, with my podcast is just really starting off. This is an experience that I'll never forget, man. Well, so I really do appreciate you, man.
No, thank you, and I appreciate you. My kids go to the school where you coach them at, the Togethership, and they talk about you all the time. I heard about Hell Day on Friday. I heard a lot about that. They weren't real happy about that, but I was like, man, get it.
Yep.
It's not all about shooting baskets and throwing footballs. It's conditioning, it's strength, it's mental toughness, and all those things that you bring, as well as the speed and strength and all those kind of core fundamental training opportunities for the different athletes that are playing the different sports. So I, as much as they were complaining about Hell Day, I was really happy to hear they were going through it.
Thank you. And I told them, I was the last coach I'm normally always the last coach to give a speech to the kids. And I told them, just remember the standard. My standard in the weight room is that everything's going to be left better than what you found it. From the kettlebells being in line to the benches being lined up on the platforms correctly. If you hold yourself to the same standards that I hold you to in the weight room, if you do it in the classroom, then you're going to win 100% of the time, because nobody is going to be strict on you like Coach D is. But it's out of a place of love, and it's just a standard that's going to carry over until you go to college as well and beyond.
Well, and at home and around your, mom doesn't have to ask you 7 times to clean up your room or, put the toilet seat down or get the toothpaste. Get the toothpaste out of the sink and all those things. Yep. I agree. It's 100% a mindset. What you do on the football field, there's a correlation to how you handle your brothers and sisters at home, how you handle your schoolwork, how you handle whatever it is you have going on in your life. It reflects everything. When you have your life under control, there's a good chance you have your playing experience, whether it's on the basketball court, whatever, football field, there's a good chance that there's some correlation between the two. And so if you're a mess in life, you're probably going to be a mess on the football field. You may be a great athlete. You may have all the talent in the world. But when it comes down to it and it's 3rd and 7, games on the line, if your life is a mess off the field, you're probably going to mess up some of those situations 100%. On the football field, and over time those compound, and 1 and 2 and 6 and 8 those are losses. And so there is a direct correlation between those two, and I just appreciate you emphasizing that to our kids.
Thank you, man. Coach, Carson,
Coach, I coach too, so you can call me Coach. Yeah.
Awesome. I really appreciate that, especially coming from someone with your background. That means the world to me. not that I go around looking for validation from anybody, because I know why I'm doing it. My purpose and why I'm doing this is strictly for the kids, right? But just hearing those words from somebody like you, man, that's like the highlight right now of my life. So I appreciate you so much, man. All right, man, let's dive into this podcast, man. I know, like I said, I know you're a busy man. I try to get you out as quick as I can, man. I know you got to go support Elle with her basketball today, man.
All good.
All right. Can you tell my listeners, who is Carson Palmer? You know, how did you grow up? Where did you grow up? For the younger generation who may not know you.
Yeah. So I was born in Fresno, California, Central California. It was a small town back then. It's grown a lot. And born in Fresno, but moved around growing up. So born in Fresno, moved to just outside of Denver, Colorado, a town called Colorado Springs, which is also bigger now than it was back in the day. Back to California, and just kind of hit a bunch of different spots. My dad was changing jobs and moving around, and it was great from the standpoint that it forced me out of my comfort zone and shell, because I had to find a new school and find new friends and join new teams. And you know, I was always quiet, and it kind of internalized everything, so it forced me out of my shell, moving around and bouncing around a bunch. But finally settled for 4 years in where we are right now, Rancho Santa Margarita, where I went to high school. Went to high school here, then went on to USC, played at USC, and then played in the NFL for 15 years. Was drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals in 2003. Yep, 2003. Played there for a decade, then went to Oakland for a year and a half, and then finally was traded to the Arizona Cardinals in 2014 or 15, where I finished out my career there. And just kind of continued the journey of moving. So, you know, my kids grew up moving from, you know, you get traded like that. You're looking for a new city and you're somewhere else. And so that's been a great experience for my kids. So I got done playing. We moved from Arizona back to California to Idaho, spent 7 years in Idaho, and now we're back in California for high school, for my kids to go to high school here. So I've really kind of, you know, bounced around throughout my life, throughout my career, from place to place. And, you know, as hard as it is for kids to move, and I'll never forget every time my dad came in the living room, was like, we need to talk. He'd be like, he'd start talking about this new place, and before he knew it, he'd be like, yeah, we're moving there. And so, I
was already made up then.
Yeah, it was done. It was happening. And so I got used to that. And as challenging as it is for a kid, like, hey, all these kids in the neighborhood, like, you're going to find new ones. You know, those are hurdles for you as a youngster growing up. And so, like I said, I mean, it was great for me because it got me out of my comfort zone. It forced me to meet new people, talk to new people, show up at lunch and you don't have anywhere to sit. You know, you don't know what crew to sit with. And so those opportunities were great for me. But as I bounced around and got done playing football, I think especially over the last 4 or 5 years, I really realized football's not who football is just something I did.
It's something you did.
You know, I've got 4 kids and a business and got those things going, and family and all those things. And football was so long ago to me. And the farther I get away from it, I realize more and more, you know, you just get, when you get to the NFL, you are an NFL football player. It's your identity. It's who you are. It's, you know, you're being told by everybody, you know, this is who you are. And you just realize once you get done, like, that's not who I was. That's what I did.
That's what you did.
It's what I loved. It's what I competed at. It's what provided a living. It's, you know, all those different things got me into a college that I wouldn't have gotten into. It was a vessel that I used and loved, and you know, so many great things came with it. So many hard things came with it, but it is not who I am. Not a football, especially now. I'm not a football player. Looking around this weight room down here, I'm like, man, I don't miss being in there for 4 hours a day, and having to do all those things that create so many things. But you know, now, you know, I'm 40. Am I 43 or 44?
Man, you sound like me trying to remember my age right now.
It doesn't matter after 21.
After 21, it all feels the same.
But yeah, I'll just say I'm in my mid to early 40s.
Okay.
And so, you know, that was a whole lifetime ago to me. And I'm a dad. I'm a husband. And that's what I'm focused on now.
I look at myself the same way. You know, You know, I chose to go military instead of go to college, you know. And after I got out the military, everything was all focused on being the best husband I can be, the best father I can be, and keep, you know, family first, just like you're doing. You know, my time in the military was just, you know, what I did to make a living. I had fun, don't get it wrong, I did have fun, but it didn't define me once I got out. You know, now when I get out, I want people to look at me, you know, yeah, Coach D is a great coach, but man, he loves his kids. He's a great husband. Just same, you know, with what you're doing as well, man. So it kind of touched base with me with how you just spoke those words about, man. So that's great, man. So you mentioned you grew up, you know, you not grew up, but you played football here in SM. How was your time at SM? You know, you were there four years, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, I did my homework on you, man. It said that when you were a ninth grader, that you were so good as a ninth grader that the varsity team would stop practice just to come watch you. Is that true?
That's a fairy tale.
That's a fairy tale,
I don't
man.
Remember those. You know how it is. I mean, I've Clay Thompson obviously went to SM as well, and I've heard stories. And I saw Clay right before he left for camp and asked him some stories. Like, what are you talking? Like, when you're a professional athlete and you make it, you know, from a local high school, there's always some folklore. There's always some hype.
Yep.
No, man, I was a freshman. I don't remember that. I don't ever remember. I was a freshman just trying to figure it out. And we had a great freshman class and a great freshman team, but no, that doesn't it just sound silly when you really sit there and think about it? Like,
I'm gonna be honest, to me, it sounds amazing. Like
I don't remember that. I don't remember. You got to ask some other people, but I don't remember. I don't even remember when the varsity team practiced or where they practiced. I was just focused on our team. But
when I read that, I was like, wow, like that's insane. I can't wait. I wrote it down. I said, I can't wait to ask him about this, man. I talked to Elle about it, and she was like, wow, my dad was that good? And I said, yeah, man. I was like, do you not? I said, I know that's dad to you, but to somebody like me growing up in Arkansas and remembering your dad play at USC, I said, I never in my dreams thought I would get to meet him, let alone sit down and have a conversation with him or get to work with his kids, you know.
You can keep that story going with my kids.
I got to keep
my
it going.
My kids, I am just dad. So any of that folklore is good. I'll take any of that.
Awesome. And I said, you know, do you know his stats and everything? That's weird for me to look at my dad's stats. I was like, that's your dad, man. Look him up.
Yeah, but I mean, they don't it's just when you're dad, I'm annoying.
Oh my
pestering.
goodness.
Put your phone down. No phones on. You know. They just don't see me in that light. But also, I had my kids later on in my career, and so, you know, I think my last couple of years when I was in Arizona, my oldest kids might have been 4 or 5, which I don't remember anything from when I was 4 or 5. So they don't.
No.
I mean, my kids. I was talking to Fletch, my oldest son, the other day, and he'd come in the locker room I'd go in and work out on my days off, and he'd be in there sitting on the physio ball, bouncing, watching me, you know, getting trained, and then he'd be in the locker room, and Larry Fitzgerald's, you know, catching footballs from him, and he doesn't remember any of that stuff because they're so young, and I'm so glad that I documented it, and I have pictures of him in the Cardinals locker room getting picked up by the offense line, stuffed in a laundry bin.
You gotta share that with me because when he get out of the line, I'm saying, hey man, don't let me show these pictures to everybody, man. Yeah. But that's awesome, man. You know, once he gets older and he looks at those pictures, and like those are gonna be memories that he carry on as he becomes an adult as well, man. You know, that's great stuff, man.
Yeah, it's funny too. That reminds me of I knew I was retiring my last season there, and the season ended, and you come in the day after your last game, and you have your exit physical, so that all the doctors come in, and then you meet with the coaches, and you kind of go, like, there's guys that are free agents that aren't going to be back, that they know aren't going to be back. There's guys that are under contract, so it's a really weird vibe. And he came with me the whole day. I was like, kids aren't allowed. I don't care. I'm out of here. Like,
absolutely.
What are they going to do?
Yeah.
You know? So he came in. He came to the team meeting. He was sitting in the back of the meeting. He came in the locker room, and he was just he might have been 4, 5, 6, and he's just running around like it was a normal day out on the practice field. You know, Augusta-like grass. He's just in this environment, loving it. We, you know, go to the team mess hall. We're eating. But, you know, and I was at that time, it was a really young Cardinals team. And so I'm always old.
You're the veteran.
37 or 38. And so
you're the old head, like they say.
Old guy, yeah. And so all these young guys, and, you know, they have these careers in front of them. And I knew that was it. I was like, this is my last time. This is Fletch's last time. And I'm tearing up. I'm getting emotional. I'm saying bye to guys. And nobody knew I was retiring yet. They just assumed I'd be back. I was still under contract. But, you know, you pack up your locker, you get all your stuff.
Yep.
And Fletch is just running around like it's nothing. And I was like, man, I can't let him see me. I was getting really, I realized it was like, I hadn't really processed it, but I was like walking around the locker room like, this is it.
Yeah.
From here, I won't be back.
You won't be back.
And he was running around with a smile on his face and oblivious to it. But I just remember I was like trying to play it cool, and the guys are kind of looking at me. I'm trying to, you know, you don't want to be the guy in the locker room, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like picking up T-shirts, and Fletch is coming running over, grabbing the ball and throwing it. And I just remember looking around the room, realizing this is it, and seeing him, and I'm like, man, I don't think he'll remember this. No. This is it. I'm moving on.
Yep.
And this will be so cool if he was like 14 or 18.
Yeah.
But I remember looking at him and seeing him not processing it and not realizing it, and just thinking, this is what Dad does. He does it again the next year and the next year.
Yep.
And I knew that was coming to a finality, and I knew that he wasn't going to have these opportunities like that anymore. Yeah. And it just made me sad.
Yeah.
I don't know why. That just kind of hit me. I haven't thought about that since that day. But, you know, it's just a powerful moment where you realize how innocent these kids are, and they don't understand what's going on around them. Yep. It's a powerful moment for me.
Absolutely. So when you know, talking about retirement, when did you really know, you know, like, man, like I woke up and I felt funny on my right side, anything. What made you really come to that idea, like, man, this is it for me?
Yeah, we were, it was my last season in Arizona, and we were playing in London against the Rams. And it was like week 4, 5, 6, something like that. And Alec Ogletree came through the middle, and I didn't see him. And I put my arm up, and he broke my arm. And so I'm in London. We lose the game. You know, this is before halftime, and so my arm's broken. And I had been feeling like that season. I've been feeling like, man, I'm slower, and I don't have the velocity, and it's just harder to move, and it hurts more getting up off the ground. Like that had kind of been brewing for the first month of the season. And so I'm in London. You fly as soon as the game's over, you fly out. And so because we were crossing the United States border into wherever we flew into, you can't bring like pain meds or anything. So my arm's broken. They want to get me back to LA to do the surgery in LA because they have to put a rod and some screws in my arm. And I was like, I'm not just going to go to a doctor in London.
100%. No, can't do that.
And so I get on the plane. They can't give me anything. They don't. Normally the team doctors give you something for pain.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they couldn't bring any because of the border crossing and all these things. And so I'm just sitting on the plane. Everybody else is out. Like, we just got our butts whooped by the Rams. Everybody's tired. And it's a small plane. And I'm just, I don't know what the ride was, but it was 10, 12 hours. And I'm just sitting in pain. And the guy's like, I can give you an, I'm like, give me an Advil. So, you know, I'm taking Advil, doing nothing. And I remember just sitting on the plane, you know, everybody's out, everybody's asleep around me. And I was just sitting up, and I remember thinking, this is it, man.
This is it.
This is it. I just played my last down. I've been feeling it had been building. Like, I was watching myself on film and practice, and I just wasn't moving as quickly in the pocket. You know, the first couple weeks had gone by. You play on Sunday. And normally, like, you get to Wednesday practice and you feel pretty good. I was getting like Friday and then Saturday, and then pretty soon, like right before the Rams game, I was still sore from the previous Sunday. Oh, wow. I wasn't recovering.
You wasn't recovering fast.
You know, I'm in my late 30s as opposed to my, you know, early 20s where you play on Sunday. You could probably play on Tuesday.
You probably play, yeah, absolutely.
And so, you know, I was at that point, and I remember just sitting up on the plane, just in pain, mad, bummed that my season's over. I'm getting ready to fly into Arizona and then get on another plane and go to LA and have the surgery done. And so I remember we land in Arizona, and I was like, this is it. I called my wife. I'm like, this is it.
I'm done.
And she was happy, but I was like, this is it. You know, I there wasn't like, oh, I'm thinking about it, or I kind of feel like I was like, this is it.
So you
I'm
knew
going to enjoy every second. This is, I know this is it. So it wasn't hard. It wasn't challenging. I hear all these stories. I hear other guys talk about it all the time. And I knew it. I knew it. And that plane ride gave me tons of time to sit and think. And like, I didn't, you know, it didn't charge anything. So I didn't have any distractions. I had headphones to put on and watch a movie.
Yep.
I just sat there and thought.
Wow.
And
for 10 hours, man.
It never, like, I'll remember I was getting off the plane and it never, I didn't at one point go, well, maybe I could do one more. I was like, this is it. I was done. And from that point on, that was like week 5, 6, 7, early on in the season. And I just enjoyed every second of it from there on, because I wasn't teetering. I wasn't, well, you know, maybe I knew it was it.
You knew it. That's crazy. You went into so much detail, and what stood out is the recovery and the pain that you went through, man. Like, and I'm 36, be 37 in June, and even is, you know, decent shape that I'm in, I get up in the morning sometime, I'm like, I don't recover the way I used to. You know, it's harder, you know, and but it's nothing on the level that you went through as a quarterback, taking hits, you know, getting up off the ground, you know, 4 or 5 times a game from big linemen hitting you and linebackers and stuff like that, man. So that's intense, Carson. That's real intense, man. 10 hours, broken arm across the. Did you go Atlantic or Pacific? Which way? You know?
I don't even know.
Okay.
I don't even know. I don't remember. It was a long flight.
Yeah.
And it was just it was a long, miserable flight, but you know, it gave me that opportunity to, like, no distractions, no nothing. I really got to sit and think, and there wasn't, you know, a thought the opposite way where, well, maybe you can get one more, maybe you just train hard and come back. Like, there,
no, you knew it.
That was it.
Wow. All right, man, let's do this question here. And I'm pretty sure you have a lot of memories and stuff, but what is your greatest memory from high school, college, and the NFL? If you can give me one for each. You know.
My greatest memory in high school was my senior year. We won the CIF championship.
14-0, right?
14-0, yeah. Yep. We played the CIF championship against Tustin, who had a ton of really good athletes, a ton of guys that went on and played in college. You know, their star was Deshaun Foster, who's now the head coach at UCLA. Yep. And I think he rushed for like 275 yards that game. Just an epic game. But that was like the culmination of high school. We were all graduating. We'd all been there for 4 years together. I think it was our second in a row, so we'd won back-to-back.
Yeah, back-to-back, yeah.
And just a great experience for all of us. Just, you know, just the way you want to go out, you know?
Absolutely.
College, man, college was a wild ride, because we, you know, when I got there was a new head coach that got fired pretty quickly. Then Pete Carroll came in and kind of stabilized everything. But I think my last year in college, we won the Orange Bowl, and with that group of seniors, it was a bunch of seniors on that team, bunch of good players, but we had been through bad seasons, and you know, when your coach gets fired, and then you're like, who knows what's going to happen? Who's coming in? What's, you know, those are just lows in college when you go through that. You know, losing, we lost in the Las Vegas Bowl. We were a mess. You know, just there were some lows. So to go through those lows with a group of guys and then get to the high, you know, that was really special. But I had a lot of, I mean, I look at some of the losses and some of the tough things we went through in college that I wouldn't change or trade for anything.
Because it molded you.
100%.
Yeah, it molded you,
100%.
man. Yeah.
Just special opportunities to go through. And then, you know, until you've, you know, what's the quote? Until you've been at the lowest valley, you can't truly appreciate the highest peak.
Yep,
you know,
that's right.
I mean, that you know, that's I can say, you know, that is as true could be. You know, the NFL, when you look back at 15 years and you don't win a Super Bowl, it's obvious, like, that's probably your answer if you won a Super Bowl. But if you didn't, you know, I just think, and when you play for different organizations, and especially when you're the quarterback, you know, it's different. When an organization gets a new starter, it's just different than when they sign a backup left guard in free agency. and there's just like these big momentum roll ups and big moves from Cincy, to Oakland to Arizona, and I just look back and I loved those opportunities to go to a new team. You got to come back as a leader. You got to show these guys don't know who you are. They don't know how you work. They don't know how you study. They don't know how you practice. They don't know what it's like to play with you. And so reestablishing yourself, especially as a leader, was so much fun. It was such a great challenge. And I don't have one memory. I have so many. 15 years.
Yeah, that's a lot.
When you don't win a Super Bowl, it's like I said, it's just easy to go, oh, it was that year we won the Super Bowl in 07, whatever. But I don't have one great memory. I have so many great memories, and I got to play for great coaches. I got to play with great teammates and staffs. I mean, it's not just the coaching staffs. It's, the guys that are in the physical therapy room when you're coming back from surgery that spend 10 hours a day with you for like 6 straight months. Yep. You get close, and it's more than just a business relationship. You get personally close to individuals.
It kind of turned to like it's a family type thing.
Totally.
Right?
It's more than a friendship. It's more than being a teammate. It's I spent more time with people at work, individual, especially coming off. I had multiple knee reconstructive surgeries, and so it's not like I was in the weight room for a couple hours and I was at my house for 8 hours. I was there from 8 till 6 or wherever, and so those are what stick out to me. And then it's fun for me now because just one guy, and I'm remiss if there's too many people to name and thank, but one guy that was great was a guy named Brett Fisher, and so. He rehabbed my second ACL and a torn UCL on my elbow. So I spent a lot of time with him because he worked in the Cardinals training room, but he wasn't the head trainer. He was I don't even know if he had a specific job title or what the job title was, but he did rehabs. He did cool you down after practice, warm you up pre-practice, all these. So I spent a lot of time with Brett.
That's awesome.
And now Brett, this past offseason, got the head job for the Detroit Lions. And so it's just cool, these relationships and these people you get to meet and spend time. Like you said, it's a family-like relationship. And so I left Arizona. He was still in Arizona. And then to see him get his due and get to the top, that he's the head of their entire training room. That's and their awesome. Sports science director, so he leveled up big time. And then to see him go there and all the success the Detroit Lions had this year, like those are what stick out to me. Absolutely. Those are the memories that I have. And although that memory is current because it just happened this season, and I was excited watching his team play and know what kind of impact he had on all those players. It's the memory of all the time I spent with Brett grinding, all the times I'm MF, I just was mad at him. There's times he pushed me and, going through a knee rehab and there's things I just thought I couldn't do. There's things like breaking through scar tissue, just all the different things and all the times I was so frustrated and mad and, and what he brought out of me and what he got out of me. That's what I look back now on those old memories and appreciate and enjoy and respect. And then just like I said, to see him go on and do what he's doing for the Detroit Lions just puts a smile on my face. Makes me
awesome.
happy.
That's awesome. No lie, I was expecting you to say like Heisman Trophy was like the highlight of my college career, or throwing my first touchdown in the NFL. I was expecting that, but to hear you give recognition to a coach who does stuff similar to what I do, that speaks volume of your character. Just makes me appreciate you even more because you see the things that we do, to help our athletes, whether it's recovering or just trying to just get them to a higher level. You really appreciated that. So man, that's
stats,
great, man.
I mean, the stats are just, they don't matter. I mean, I guess it matters if you're Dan Marino or Brady or whoever is number one on the list. I get that kind of stuff, I guess, can matter, but it just doesn't, like the awards don't matter. Yeah. Because that's one thing, like the Heisman Trophy, man, so much went into that wasn't me. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you,
I mean, you could look so deep into it, but from the protection to the guys that I was throwing bubble screens to that went 60 yards to the house, but I got the 60-yard touchdown. Like, I just those just don't mean much. It's the people. The games, it's winning, and it's not winning. There was never a game I won on my own. There's never a game 100%. Anybody won unless they're a tennis player or a golfer. Not even a golfer, because you got a caddy. But
you got a caddy, yeah.
You know, it's those experience. It's going, you know, to Philly, whatever year that was, and celebrating in the locker room with Philly because we locked up the division in the number 2 seed. Like those. It's not even about the games. It's about the experiences in the locker room. Going to Seattle, hostile environment, winning, you know, locking up, you know, a home playoff game, you know, in their locker room with those guys. And it's just you and the coach, especially on the road. That's what's so fun about winning big games on the road. It's just you guys that did it.
Yeah.
There's very few fans, especially if you play for the Cardinals. Like some teams travel crazy, like Pittsburgh travels crazy. Cowboys travel crazy, but when you go on the road and you don't play for one of those teams, it's just you and their fans.
Yeah, it is.
And then to go into their locker room and celebrate, you know, whatever that milestone is. Whether it's just a win, it's a win. But when it is, you know, a hat or T-shirt game, when you win the division, you get that. And just those moments, sitting in your locker, you know, reliving different plays in the game or different calls or whatever it was, those are what stick out more than any statistic, more than any personal award, any of that stuff.
Gotcha. And that makes sense, man. You know, it lets me know that you wasn't all out there just about stat chasing, you know, so that speaks a lot about your character as well, man. All right, let's go to the next question, man. As a former NFL quarterback, what kind of advice would you give somebody who's following in your shoes?
You know, I just think it's important to learn. And I know it's broad, but even when you're not playing, even when you're the backup, there's something you can learn. There's always things to learn.
Always.
When you're the starter, there's things to learn. Man, learn stuff in school. Go in, like, don't think about football practice or the game you have that night. Oh, it's biology or it's whatever. Like, all of those things make you better at your job.
They do.
One way or another. They make you better at playing football one way. Like, the more knowledge you have, the more power you have. And I didn't know that. I didn't think that. But I just think it's so important to consume information, and now that's one of the things I focus on now, and just even if it's something that's boring, I'll listen to a lot of podcasts, not on sports but on my business, and I'll listen to 1 hour podcast, but I'll spend like an hour and 40 minutes listening to it because I rehear it. I rewind 15 to get me 45 seconds back to hear that line again. But that is so true in everything. If you want to be a great quarterback, know everything you can about history, science, math, like all these, like, and I just wasn't focused on that. But all of those information is the key. Information is so powerful, and the more you have, the more you can consume. It will make you better, not at that thing you're learning, but at whatever it is that you want to do and chase and love. Find a way to learn the things that may not be pertinent to that, because they will enrich that at some point.
Facts, 100%. Love it. I love it, love it, love it. Next question I got for you. What do you think sets apart, you know, good quarterbacks and great quarterbacks?
Number of things. One is toughness. You got to be willing to stand in the pocket and step into a throw and deliver it accurately when you're getting hit in the face. And I just, you know, it rings true because I spent all day yesterday at my kid's flag football game. And just some of the stuff you see today, it just infuriates me.
Yeah, I believe you.
But that is not football. That is not football. Anybody can drop back and throw the ball to anybody. It's that is not football. You got to be able to do it when you know, right when the ball comes off that last finger, that you're going to get hit in the face and you're going to end up upside down. Like, and you got to want it, and you got to enjoy it, and you got to like it, and you got to talk trash to the guy that just hit you. Like that's like, you know,
that's all you got.
That's the game, and you got to do it again and again and again and again and again, and then you do it next week and the next. And so you got to be tough. You got to be a leader. You got to be a leader. I've seen a lot of really good quarterbacks that didn't know what to do when it came to leading, and their quality of play regressed. because when you lead, you bring guys together, you inspire, you bring the best out of those players. And when you're leading a group of men at the quarterback position, you need everybody to play really, really good for you to play really, really good. Because when one of them doesn't play good, your game can be really bad. And so when you don't have a leader at the position, everybody's not optimizing their skill sets and maximizing their abilities around you. And so that is such a big part of the position and the respect that comes with playing the position. Because when guys don't respect that guy, they don't play quite as hard. They don't block quite as long. They don't go for that extra catch when they're about to, like, there's just all those things snowball. And so you got to be tough. You got to be a leader. Arm strength, unimportant. Accuracy is important. But as far as like throwing at a certain mile per hour or throwing at 75, like unimportant. Unimportant. Doesn't matter. Because I've seen a lot of guys that don't have velocity on the ball. I mean, like one of the best ever was Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner did not have an overpowering arm, but he threw it on time, and he threw it accurately, and he knew where it needed to go, when it needed to go there. And so, I mean, there's a reason guys are drafted, high, and there's a reason guys don't get drafted high. And a lot of that's based off of arm talent and arms and velocity and speed and all those things. And I just think those are overlooked. But you got to be accurate, so you don't need a powerful arm. So accurate, toughness, leadership, and you got to be able to process information.
Gotcha.
You gotta have the ability to at the right time in a split second change everything that's going on in front of you. Relay that information to everybody that's in front of you to get out of a bad play into a good play. And so I think those things are extremely important.
Gotcha. Everything that I was thinking, you said. I thought you would have said arm strength was a big deal, but hearing you break it down the way you did, I can see why you said arm strength is not.
It's nice. It's great.
Nice,
it's great if you can be late to a read and get the ball out there because you got more RPMs on the ball to get through the wind and get to that spot. It's great when you're scrambling around and moving around. There's a guy down the field that's 55 yards and you got to throw it on a frozen rope to get it to him. Between, that's great. That's awesome. It's just like, it's like being a basketball player and having a 44-inch vertical. That's really, you don't have to have a 44-inch vertical.
Nope,
if you're 6'5" and you time it right and you can shoot, you can dribble, you can defend. You don't have to be 40 plus. It's nice.
Yeah, it is.
When you can just jump over people.
Facts, man.
It's nice when you can just whip a ball into a spot late because you missed the read and whatever. But it is not one of the top 4 or 5 things you need to be successful.
Gotcha. You said something about with the flag football. You say it's not football. You feel the same way about 7-on-7?
That's what I'm talking. Yeah, I'm talking seven flag football.
Yeah,
it's not football. It's some of the. I saw a guy catch a ball the other day, run through the middle of the field with the ball in his hand like this.
Yeah.
And you can't fumble it in 7-on-7. No. You can't. And so there's just so many bad. And I'm watching these quarterbacks. They're not even taking drops. They're not reading anything. Like it's bad. It's. I should stop talking.
No. But you're right.
It's not football, and it's creating terrible habits.
It is, 100%.
And there's guys out there with hand warmers on beanies and
pajama
ski
pants.
Goggles and pajama pants.
Yeah, man. Yep.
And 10 wristbands and 4 towels, and that's what it's about. Yeah. And that's not football. That's not what football's about.
Yeah.
Coaches are yelling and screaming at kids that it's really frustrating to watch that because when I was in high school, there really wasn't that. Yeah. You played on a 7-on-7 league or a team, but it wasn't every single weekend and playing on 4 teams and your Instagram handle and people taking pictures and posting. Like, that's not football.
Making coaches running out on the field with their phones, recording kids if they get head topped. I hate that. I hate it. Yeah, it is, man. Why would you want to? As a grown man, why would you want to embarrass this kid more than what he's already embarrassed for getting head top? You're going to blast this all out over social media. God forbid if a grown man did that to my kid. And I probably have to really do something to this guy, because I don't play about my kids. So it's no point for a grown man to go out and do that, And I tell the kids at the school, I don't want to see you guys wearing pajama pants when you go play 7-on-7. The reason why is because you're prepping for high school. What do you think if you go to a 7-on, your pajama pants, ski goggles on, that high school coach shows up and see you like that? Your first impression is everything to that coach. He's not going to trust you. You more worried about your swag, your drip, than you are about getting the job done.
I don't want to coach that kid.
No, you don't want to coach that kid.
I don't want to waste time. If your focus is on how you look and how you can blast this out on social media, and it's not about what am I going to get better at today? Can we win this whole thing? Can we win this whole tournament? That's what. How do we get these guys on the same page where we can win this whole tournament? And it's about highlight reels 100%. And the technique, some of the form, and just it's making you worse. If you want to be great at high school football. With like real football with pads on, if you want to be as good as you can be, some of the stuff that guys are doing in 7-on-7 that's not being coached is making them worse. In the future at that position or in that sport, and it's tough to watch.
Yeah, 100%. Are you familiar with first down training? Great. No. Okay, so he's a quarterback receiver coach that I had last week on the show, and he said some of the same things you said, like the bad habits that you're learning from 7-on-7, how receivers are releasing off the ball, the quarterback's throwing the ball. He touched on a lot of things that you said as well. Like I said, it just makes the athlete a step behind as they get older, man. So, but yeah, that's great. I would love to have Grant and Carson sitting down with each other. That'd be great because y'all speak a lot of the same things, man. All right, next one I got for you, man. We live in a age where we evolve, right? We have to evolve to get better. Now, with the game of football, in what ways have you seen it evolve for the better? I don't want to go into the worst. I want to keep light on the sport, but for the better, how have you seen it like really evolve?
For the better, I don't know that you could make what I think is the best sport much better from where it was in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. I mean, I don't think some things need to get better. I don't think everything needs to be better. Everything needs to be bigger or grander or more exciting. I mean, the week 14 in 2002 or 1997 was captivating. We don't need to make that better. We don't need to, and I know that's the goal of you look at NFL and now college with all the all the changing of conferences, try to make it bigger and better. Like there's enough eyeballs on it. There's enough marketing dollars made. I don't know that it's gotten better, and I don't think it needed fixing. I do think some of the safety concerns starting at the top from the league, and it was probably like midway through my career where they really started cracking down on the helmet to helmet hits, the defenseless receiver hits. They've gone way overboard with the quarterback for sure, but
Tom Brady said the same thing. They went overboard trying to protect him too much. Is that what you mean? Yeah, he said the same thing about them going overboard, trying to protect them too much. He said he missed the days of like being able to really take a hit and get up and showing how tough you are and to keep going.
You can't. Yeah, I mean, I think that's gone the wrong direction, but I do love what they've done to like defenseless receivers to an extent, because then there's some hits too where your team gets flagged when your safety of the team you're rooting for gets a 15-yarder on 3rd and 10, and it's like, hold on, that was borderline call. But just I think they've made the game safer. They've taken that using the helmet as a weapon. Guys would just, the helmet's heavy, the helmet's hard. Like guys just use the helmet to tackle. You hit somebody hard enough with something hard like that, and so they've taken the incentive out of that, which I think has been great. But I don't know. I don't think the game needs to be bigger, better, grander, more captivating. I think the game is, it's the greatest game ever created because it's so diverse in the type of skill sets that each individual position on both sides, on all three sides of the ball, need. When you're only as strong as your weakest link. There's so much greatness in the game that I just I don't think we need to keep making it bigger and better. And now NFL needs to play 20 games a year and go to overseas and play over here. Like, it's so good. It's so good. And I we all feel it in the off season. Like, man, I miss football.
Yeah, you do. Yep, you're right.
You miss it. But if you oversaturate the audience with it, you can go the wrong direction with it pretty quickly and easily. And I don't want them to see. Yeah. I don't want to see the league do that.
Gotcha. That was right on the head with everything, man. Next one I got for you. Can you share any, insights on, how you approach the game physically and mentally? Like, whether if it was, I'm pretty sure your routine maybe changed some from high school as you got to college and from college as you got to the NFL. But, normally it's a routine that you always would do, as far as attacking the game mentally and physically.
Yeah.
What can you kind of give insight on that may help, a future quarterback or just an athlete with how you attack the game like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I always had the mindset of like I said earlier, I was always kind of quiet. I wasn't the natural rah hype speech pump up guy. That just wasn't who I was. It came out of me more as I played, and the more I was on teams where I realized we didn't have that guy and I had to be that guy. I'd fill those shoes, but I wasn't comfortable and wasn't good at it. That's not just my thing. Was I'm the first guy there, the last one to leave. I'm going to outwork every other quarterback. I'm going to watch more film. I'm going to lift harder. I'm going to do all these. That was my, MO.
Yeah.
And so I was always very focused and not always on the right things, because as I learned, I stopped power cleaning at one point. I just thought I needed to power clean because that's what football players do. And then I realized how hard it is on your elbow as a thrower, too late in my career. And then I started having elbow issues. But my whole focus was, and I tell my son this, like, I read Bo Knows Bo when I was a young kid, and Bo did push-ups, pull-ups, and body weight squats and sit-ups. And so I did push-ups, pull-ups, and body weights. I did them every day.
He's one of the greatest athletes ever.
And so, that was a big part of my focus. Was I just would pick up little things from other guys because I didn't know. And so I felt that my path to getting into college first was I just needed to lift more and study more and watch more film. And so I just couldn't get enough of it. And I was always focused on that. And as I got older, I studied smarter. I trained smarter. As you get older, as some of these guys get older, they think, well, I've been to, a couple Pro Bowls and I'm the highest paid or one of the highest paid guys. And I've done it. I'm there. I don't need to work as much. And I you would see it all the time, all the time. Like, and that's not true. That's not true. You need, as you get into your 30s and your lifting regimen, it needs to change. But you don't need to lift and train less. You actually need to train harder and smarter. And not as long, but more efficiently.
Facts. You said that.
And so, it's not about being, because if, when I was 35, I'd be in the weight room for 4 or 5 hours and I would get more done in those 4 or 5 hours than, when I was 25, and I'd be in the weight room all day, just kind of hanging out and lift a bit, go stretch, get worked on, make a smoothie, go back and lift, then go out and throw, come back. Like there was no efficiency in it. I just felt like, I got to be in the gym. In the gym. And so I see a lot of guys, they just don't look the same. And I can tell, like, he's not training like he was when he didn't have that contract.
You can tell. Yes, sir.
And so guys feel like once they get a certain contract or they have a certain status within the league, well, I made it. And so now I'm going to, as opposed to going to, Cabo for a week, I'm going to go for like a month. And I'm not going to come back. Like, and I don't need to quite train. And so I'm older. I'm not going to train as, and I just see that all the time. And then sure enough, that guy's out of the league in 2 or 3 years because he had a hammy and then a shoulder and an ankle, and then they're out. And the guys that play for a long time and play at a high level, and they don't always give you a window into what it is and what it takes. And I like that and respect that. But those guys that play for a long time, they train harder and more efficiently as they get older, not taking more time off as they get older.
Gotcha. That makes sense. And you touched on how being more efficient with your training and everything. Like when I was in my 20s, military, I would go to the gym 2.5, 3 hours a day, but now I get more done in an hour of training, before I have to take my kids to school than I did ever in my 2.5, 3 hours that I trained in the military. It's about being efficient, being smarter with your training and everything, man. So, and I'm glad you said that, because like I said, it touched home with me, because I know I'm doing something right then, you know. Being that you have your background, and I keep saying that, but it just touched home with me a lot more, knowing that we think a lot alike about stuff like that, man. So that's gratifying to me, man. All right, next thing I got for you. During your career, you know, football career in general, challenges, roadblocks. What was one of the biggest roadblocks that you had to overcome?
Well, injuries. I mean, I blew my knee out in the first round of the playoffs in like 06.
03, about 3-4 years into the league.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
06 or 07.
Mm-hmm.
So I blew my knee out in the playoffs January-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And the next season started. Typically, you want to blow your knee out in like September.
Yeah,
so you have a whole year.
Yeah, man.
So that was a big challenge. That was a big year. I did it again in same injury in 2015.
Same knee?
Same knee.
Oh, wow.
At 30. I did it when I was 24 and then 34.
Mm-hmm.
So blowing your knee out at 34 and coming back from that is a big hurdle to get over.
Got you.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
A lot of surgeries. Those were the biggest challenges for me. And just things that you don't know. And I the second time I did it, I knew so much from the first time I did it. The first time you do it, you hear all these horror stories, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
And you're just like, all right. But until you actually do it and go through it, I knew what to do. And I came back so much stronger the second time because I'd already been through it.
Yeah.
And I already had that experience. I didn't need to ask somebody. I didn't need to talk. I knew what I needed to do.
Yep. And you did it more efficiently, I guarantee you.
It was way more efficient. Well, and just seeing the technological advances and recovery apparatuses that you can use from 06 to 2016, just in a 10-year. I mean, in 06, I went in, I had the surgery, I was in the hospital for 3 days. In 2016, I went to a little outpatient care facility, and I was back in my bed by lunch. I mean, just in 10 years, you see, and that was like the protocol back in 06. It was like you go, you stay at the hospital for a couple of days, they make sure. In 2016, they were knocking it out, and doctors were doing like 5 a day as opposed to 1 a day. So just seeing, and that's just one microcosm of the whole thing. Like everything I did, I trained so different the second time, and it was only 10 years is nothing. 10 years is like that.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
And everything, like all the protocols, all the, I pushed it so much harder, and I pushed it hard because when I did it the first time, nobody had ever done it in January and played the season opener the next year. So I did it,
that was quick, like what, 8-9 months?
I did it in 8 months, and that was like nobody's done that. Nobody's going to do that. So I was pushing it to 2006 standards, and then when I did it again in 2015 or 16, man, every day was like what we were doing. We were pushing it, we were grinding, and I had more time because I did it in, I think, October or November, so I had more time.
Yeah, way more time.
But just seeing the technological advances in 10 years, it was crazy. It was cool. It was cool to watch and learn.
Got you. And it's something called the Carson Palmer rule, right?
There was,
It was. Did that stem from the ACL injury? So can you talk a little bit about that, if you know about that rule?
I got hit by a defensive lineman that fell into my knee. I don't think he was. It looked like he just was running and then dove, but he's not that type of guy.
Gotcha.
They called it the Carson Palmer rule for a bit, and then it happened to Brady, I think, a year or two later, and they changed the Tom Brady rule. Remember when he blew his knee out against the Chiefs?
Yeah, I do remember that.
So I had that rule for a couple of years, and then Brady took it from me.
Got
took
you.
that one from me.
Well,
too.
you had it first, man. So.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you credit for it, man.
I didn't look at it that way. I should have looked at it that way. I had it first.
You did, man. Now, I know that we're both family, man. Love our kids, spend time with our families, wife, and everything. What kind of hobbies and interests do you do? I think I know, but I want you to tell the audience.
Yeah. I love to hunt, fish, and ski.
Yep. Knew it.
That's why I don't like living in California.
Yeah. You were in. Did you go to Ohio over Thanksgiving break? Right.
Yeah.
Did you kill anything?
Go to Ohio. Yeah.
What you get, man?
Shot a big mature 10.
Oh, wow.
Fletch shot a young, immature 12.
Gotcha. 12 point.
Elle had
Oh, wow.
Elle had a good deer in her sights and didn't work out.
She did tell me that. Yep.
Yeah, my youngest daughter had a young deer in her sights, didn't work out. But yeah, I love to hunt, fish, and ski. Yeah. But I love to do it even more with my kids.
Absolutely.
And like we'll go back to Ohio a bunch and hunt a bunch, and because we live in California and I don't get a chance to hunt my kids, man. That's all I watch and want to talk about and watch videos of, so my kids know it. And they're always like, "No, Dad, you hunt. I know you want to." It's when they're with me, like because you can't, multiple people can't hunt at once. It's a one. I'm there watching over them and making sure safety and all that stuff.
Absolutely, you have to.
And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I would much rather you harvest a big deer right now than me.
Yep.
And they don't get that.
They won't understand it yet.
True. I would be very, very excited to harvest or catch a huge fish, but I would not be nearly as excited as if they were to do that. Yeah. And so
it's something about watching your kids do something, like that. Like if it's, catching a big fish and everything. Growing up in Arkansas, that's what I did. Fishing, never got a chance to hunt, but, with the fishing, my dad would tell me the same thing. Here, I had a big bite here, a nibble here, the bass got off of it, whatever, the catfish, whatever it is. You come right here, throw your line here, you see if you can get it. So if I reel it in, the look on my dad's face it was priceless, So, it hit home again, like you want to see your kids, harvest that big deer or whatever it is, man. So that's great, man. Did they tell you that they wanted me to go to Ohio with you guys?
No.
Yeah, man. So we were at the school in Fletch and they were like, yo, Coach D, we're going to Ohio. I was like, cool, what y'all going for? Hunting. I said, man, I grew up in Arkansas, never got a chance to hunt, so that's on the bucket list. Well, you can come. I was like, bro, I said, man, like in a week time frame, you want me to like plan this? I said, if I go, give me time to plan it and talk it out with your dad. But I told him I would love to go, man, with you guys. Yeah. What part of Ohio do you go to?
It kind of depends. I've got some buddies up north, so like not too far from Cleveland.
Got
so
you.
The northern part of the state, or just the south central part of the state. Not far from like the Ohio River, Kentucky. So man, anywhere cold in Ohio, man. That's
cold up there, though.
That is it's big buck country, man. It is great hunting. That whole Midwest is great, but especially the state of Ohio.
Yeah. I'm gonna take them up on that one day, man.
Yeah, come on.
All
out.
right, awesome. Okay, and did you hunt in Idaho as well? How was that, man?
The hunting's good. The fishing is second to none.
Gotcha.
Where we live in Idaho, you've got 3 epic rivers within an hour of each other, all very different kind of fishing. From one is you're very focused on a float tube where you're in the water moving down the water. Oh, wow. Very technical, very challenging, to the Big Lost River, which is my favorite river to fish on the planet, where you're on foot and you're covering miles all day long, just fishing until it goes dark, and then you go back to the campsite and cook and eat and do it again the next day. And then there's another, the Big Wood River is another great, blue, just beautiful trout fishery. And man, it's I want to go fishing now that I'm talking about it and thinking about it. That's what I love to do.
It's been I graduated high school in 2005, and I think that was the last time that I've been fishing. It's been years, man, and I still know how to do it. I can set a line. I can do everything, but it's been
There's not a lot of places to fish around here unless you want to just throw a bobber in a man-made lake, like Lake Mission Viejo, and go catch some carp.
No, don't want to do that, man. That water's. I live down the street from Lake Mission Viejo, man, and that water, don't go fishing.
You don't want to
eat
those fish.
Nope, don't want to do that. And honestly, tell you the truth, every fish they put in there dies. They don't live. It's nothing there, man. I was there.
Why?
Yeah, they said there's some bacteria that's in it. Yeah, but I'm thinking like, if the bacteria is killing the fish, why are people still swimming in the water?
People swimming in that water.
People swimming in the water. Yeah, man. I'm not doing that, man. So yeah,
that's what the ocean's for.
Facts, 100%, man. Couple more questions. I'm gonna let you get out of here, man. Can you? I mean, like we talked about the importance of the quarterback position. in being a leader. How important is it for a quarterback to really step into that leadership role of the team?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the quarterback and middle linebacker, free safety, whatever, whoever's calling the defense on the defensive side of the ball, it is important. I'll say this: it is important, but in certain situations, it isn't completely necessary because you can be a young quarterback, and that team can have an old wily vet that's a rock star and is a great leader at receiver or running back or tackle or any position. So, you know, it is not of the utmost importance if the QB is young and stepping into a situation where there is great leadership on that team,
already
and that is the
in
foundation.
Place. Gotcha.
But it is of the utmost importance that young quarterback learns from those veterans and fills into that role and naturally moves into that position once those old guys are gone, and now they're the vet or they're the most or they have some experience. So, you know, I don't think it is completely necessary to a team's success, depending on the situation. But man, if you're a young quarterback and you're lucky enough, like I was as a young quarterback in Cincinnati, to step into a situation where I had Reggie Kelly and Richie Bram and Willie Anderson and Corey Dillon and you know, Peter Warwick and all these guys.
Corey Dillon, I didn't realize that, man. Yeah,
you know, when you're a young guy and you have the opportunity to not have to be the leader, when you have that leadership group around you, but man, you're wasting an opportunity if you don't learn from and take a little bit. I love the way he trains. I love the way he talks to his teammates. I love the way he's with the media. Like, if you can't, you're wasting an opportunity if you're in that situation and you don't grab pieces from each guy to further enhance your leadarship abilities.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Now, when you got to Arizona and Larry Fitzgerald, was he more like, how long had he been in the league when you got there? 2 or 3 years or so, maybe?
No. Let's see. I was in year probably 12, 11, and he was a couple years behind me. So no, he'd been in the league.
Oh, so you've been in the league for a while too.
8 or 9 years, probably.
Okay. How was his leadership? Was it
great?
Great. I've heard great things about Larry. Yeah.
Larry. I was just telling this story the other day. You know, Larry had great hands. Everybody knows he caught the ball really well.
Yeah, he did.
And I think a lot of people can see somebody like Larry or somebody like that in another sport, maybe like Kevin Durant or whoever. Go, oh man, what a gift! He can just catch the ball. Yeah. Oh, he's got such a good shot. Oh, Steph, he's got such a good shot.
Yep.
That is, man, Larry after every single practice, and this, like I said, this is year 8, 9, 10. After every single practice, Larry caught 100 footballs. After practice.
That's tough.
150 during practice. Every practice, whether it was a walkthrough, whether it was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you know, Monday practice, it did not matter. It didn't matter if it was an OTA in the off season. It didn't matter if it was the week before, you know, a playoff game. It didn't matter if it was during training camp. It didn't matter what was going on. He caught 100 balls after every single practice.
Wow.
And he would find somebody, whether it was me, another quarterback, an equipment manager, a guy running a jugs machine.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't, I mean, Larry was gifted with good hands. God gave Larry some great abilities, but Larry took those abilities given to him from God and got the most out of them. Same thing with Steph Curry or KD or whoever it is. Like, KD doesn't just show up on game day and shoot a couple free throws. Like, KD shoots KD plays all off season long.
Yep.
All off season long after he blew his Achilles tendon. Steph always shooting free throws. And that's kind of like what we were talking about earlier. Like, you see guys that they get that contract or they get, you know, that first Pro Bowl and they're like, all right, I got it, done. That's why those guys that we're talking about continuous, because they're still doing it. KD's 30 something. Steph's in his 30s. Larry played until he was 37 probably. He was doing it when he was 36 and 37. 100 balls after every single practice. It's not a coincidence. It's not luck. It's not good fortune that God just blessed you with good, strong hands. It was a craft. It was built. It was something that he said, I'm going to do it. And then he actually did it for like, I think Larry played for like 17, 18 years.
Yeah, he played for a while, man. He played for
longer than me. So he did it
for
for 17 or 18 years.
Wow, that's crazy. And so so you retired in 2015, right? Yeah, so he did. I think it was like 2017 time frame, maybe 18 when he like finally hung it up, right?
Yeah.
I think it's something like that. Yeah, that's right, man. With this one, is there any celebrity athlete that you met and was like, yo, I can't believe I'm meeting you right now?
When I first saw Michael Jordan,
Bro, you got Jazz, my favorite athlete of all time.
Oh man, I had I told you I moved around a lot as a kid, and the one thing I had above my bed was his Wings poster. Remember the Wings poster?
Yeah, I do.
He was stretched out with the ball
I
in
had
one
it too.
hand. It was a black and white shot.
Yep.
Chicago skyline behind him.
Yeah.
I saw him. I was playing in a golf tournament he was playing at, and he was walking. I'd never seen him in person. Well, actually, I did see him in person. My buddy and I drove up to when we were in high school. We drove up. The Bulls were in town playing the Clippers, and we waited until the second quarter and bought tickets for like $5 because the game had already started.
Yeah.
We kept waiting. We didn't have any money, so we were waiting, and we're hearing the scalpers out front talking about ticket prices, and we're second quarter, tips off, and like, oh, now's our chance. And we heard the prices going from like 30, 40, down to I think $5 or $10. We bought, and we could barely see the court, but we saw MJ play.
Yeah.
That was the one time I saw him play, and so I was in high school at the time, so that was the only time I'd seen him in person. And then I'm playing in this golf tournament decades later, and he's been retired for a decade, and he was walking through the lobby of the hotel where the guys playing in the golf tournament were going to our tee time. So I get off the elevator and I stop, and I'm grabbing a coffee at the little coffee shop in the casino, and the door's right here, and I turn around, and I swear, man, it was like I was like, oh,
yeah,
everything got, you're in a loud casino, it just goes quiet, and he just had that walk, and he's buttoned up, he's in his golf outfit, looking right. Always, he was just always in a nice suit, whether when he was in his jersey and shorts, but outside of that, just always carried himself just with so much grace. And just to see him in person that close, walking through the lobby, it was the first time I've ever been like, dang,
that's
and I don't know who I was like, Michael.
That's Michael.
Everybody, it's nobody like, oh, really? Michael's in here? No. Everybody, when he walked through the room, there was just an aura, like a light was shining behind him. And I remember, because I every time Chicago was on TV, I was watching it. I was watching him play baseball. I just loved Michael. And so to see him in person was the only time I've ever been like, dang, that's MJ.
That's crazy. I saw Mike play twice as a kid, man, in Houston. And the things he did in person, it doesn't justify what you see on highlights and everything. And that's why I try to tell the younger kids today, it's not about me being an old head or anything like that, just actually seeing how great this guy was in person, man. So, I tell my son DJ all the time, like, bro, I was blessed to see, in my eyes, the greatest basketball player to play in person, man. Not a lot of people can say that, man.
Well, no, especially nowadays too, because so many guys don't play very much.
Yeah.
And it was the end of the season. They were, I think, on the it was the year of their fourth championship. End of the year, Clippers back then stunk.
Yeah.
I mean, Clippers they stunk. And so he played into the fourth quarter. He got a breakaway. And just like in today's game, I feel like a lot of guys wouldn't be playing in that game because the playoffs were around the corners, into the season. They're already the one seed.
Yep.
And he played into the fourth quarter, and he got a breakaway dunk in LA, and he didn't lay it up. He went up. He did the MJ.
Yeah.
Didn't jump from the free throw line, but I got to see, I felt like back, and that's the thing about MJ too, and same thing with Kobe is they realized, like, man, people are coming
to watch.
There might be a high school kid that's going to drive up from Rancho Mission Viejo or wherever we were at, and they've been talking about this all week long, and they told their buddies, and none of their buddies believe them. They're going to go and get a ticket, and we got it, and they may wait out in the parking lot for, till the second half or till the second quarter, and they're going to scalp it. Like, that is what MJ did. Week, day in, day out. He knew he knew he had that kind of following. And I feel like a lot of guys nowadays don't respect that or care for that, but MJ did. And so did Kobe.
100%, man, 100%. No time off. They want to please little Johnny up in the stands that's in the nosebleed, that saved up all this money, like you said.
Well, it's a mindset too. Man. This is who I am. This is what I do. I don't take a night off. If I take a night off, my game might lack. I might, it's a mindset now where it's like, I need a night off. My ankle's a little like Michael Jordan never felt 100% in a game. Kobe never felt great. Now guys want to play like, I'm a little off, my back's sore, my whatever it is, and they'll take a night or two off, and that it wasn't like that back then.
100%, man. One last question I got for you, Carson, before I let you get out of here, man. I've asked every guest this. If there's like one or two people that you would like to see on the podcast that you think would be a good conversation for me, who do you think they would be?
Ooh, I think you should have one of your students.
Facts.
One of your pupils.
Yep.
I think you should have, I think you should have one of your togethership kids, and it'd be a great perspective for you.
Yeah.
Because as a coach, you don't always know. As a coach, sometimes I got this point, I'm going to deliver it today, and this is so important. These guys need to hear this, and you can deliver that point, and nobody remembers it or even hears it, but you said something else that you don't remember. 45 minutes before that was hugely impactful to that kid. And so, as coaches, sometimes the things that we know are really important in our head for our athlete to pick up or learn that day, it just doesn't pick up. It doesn't hit. It doesn't click. It's not remembered. And something else that seems so insignificant to you that you may have said, or a point that you may have delivered, was so impactful and so powerful to that pupil. And so I just think it's interesting and it's cool from the coaching perspective to hear from somebody, because there could be something you're stressing on all season long or all month long or whatever it is you're training for, this training block right here that's so important for this, and you want them to understand how important it is. Sometimes it just doesn't click, and sometimes it just doesn't hit. So I always, I think that would be cool for you to have one of your student athletes in here to ask them, a number of questions like, what's the best thing you learned from me? I'll bet the best thing that some of your student athletes have learned from you isn't the thing that you think is best that you've been teaching them, just because information hits everybody differently, and it's absorbed differently, or it's absorbed incorrectly. Maybe the way you said it was a little this or that, you know what I mean? I just think that's an interesting dynamic and an interesting perspective for your viewers and listeners.
Awesome. I'm going to do that. I haven't had a together show. I had one, but she graduated last year. But it's a few kids there that have been, Coach, let me go on a podcast with you and everything. So I guess
that's not the one you want, though. That's not the one. You want the one that does. There's one that hasn't asked or doesn't even know about the podcast, maybe, that may be more interesting from your perspective.
It makes sense, man. Again, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day, bro. Like I said, you got, family, kids, basketball events and everything. And for you to be willing to come down and sit down and, talk with me. If I'm not mistaken, you don't do a lot of podcasts and interviews and stuff, right?
No, I'm honored to be here. I appreciate you having me.
I appreciate you so much, man. Like I said, I love your kids, man. They're great, always well respected. They work hard for me. And like I said, it's been a joy working with them, and it's been, an honor and a joy getting to know you and your family personally, man. So hopefully this relationship just continues to blossom and grow, man. Like I said, just sitting here with a Heisman Trophy winner, that's mind-blowing to me. That's a blessing, especially 6 or 7 episodes into this podcast. And, for you to just sit down with me, I can't thank you enough, bro.
Oh, no.
I appreciate you so much, man.
I appreciate being here. I appreciate giving me the opportunity to talk about all the good and the bad, and just appreciate what you're doing. I mean, we need, our youth need more coaches that understand the important things and know how to push kids away from the things that aren't important, that don't matter, that don't build them up, that break them down. And I just appreciate the respect you have for the kids you work with, the guidance you give them, and the time and the energy and the effort. there isn't enough of it in this world, and the ones that are willing to coach and teach and pass on their experiences and point kids in the right direction when they may be pointed in the wrong. There aren't enough individuals like yourself, and just appreciate you, Coach.
Nah, man, bro. Thank you. Yes, thank you. All right, man. Hey, the episode is done. Carson Palmer, everybody, follow him, follow the podcast, and we are out of here, man.